Previously on Funny Science Fiction.
Did you think it was Crispin?
I did, actually.
That's why they didn't want Crispin to see my pictures.
Hi, I'm Burt Ward, Robin from TV's Batman, welcoming you to the Funny Science Fiction Podcast. Wowie Zowie Citizens!
The podcast that makes you wish the show was half as long and twice as funny. All right, boys and girls, men and women, kids and gents alike, our guest today is the one and only Dick Grayson from TV's Batman. Now, we're very excited to have Burt Ward here for a conversation, of course, about the Caped Crusaders, because why not? I mean, come on. But we're Batman. Also real, exactly, right? The Batman. Come on. He was Robin. This is amazing. But we're also going to talk to him about being a canine crusader. And I'm very excited to talk about this, about the importance of proper pet food, and how Burt and his wife have rescued over 15,000 dogs. And of course, we are funny science fiction, so we want to share some laughs with our guests. So, well, help me in welcoming the one, the only, Burt Ward. Thanks for joining us today, Burt.
Thank you, Burt.
Hello, citizens.
Hello.
Yeah.
I
am. Yeah, we're very excited to talk to you. We've been talking about this since for a couple weeks now, and you know, we could talk about this, and we could talk about that. But
that was after I got over the initial excitement of I get to talk to Burt Ward. But yes, I'm still not over it. Who am I kidding?
And so there is very much of that. So we'll do our best to not giggle as we talk to you today, Burt. But I make no promises.
None whatsoever.
So before we talk about anything Batman and Robin related, I wanted to chat with you for a few minutes about your passion for animals and what you're doing with Gentle Giants. This really hits home for me because we have a dog. He's a rescue. His name is O'Malley. He's a family dog now. Actually, he lives with my brother-in-law because he took a shine to my niece, who's 7 years old now, 8 years old. If she sees this and I'm giving the wrong age, she's going to be so mad. But he is so protective of her. But he had a issue with the dog food that we were using, the processed dog food. They weren't treating him right, and it was causing skin issues and coat issues and a few other things. So we went for a more natural approach with foods without added grains, no GMOs and things like that. So what you're doing with Gentle Giants is very important to me, and I'm very excited to be able to hear what you're doing there. So if you don't mind, Burt, could you take a few minutes and tell us how you went from being the Caped Crusader to being the Canine Crusader?
Sure. In the last 26 years, my wife and I have been operating Gentle Giants Rescue and Adoptions, which is the world's largest giant breed dog rescue. We also have smaller dogs, but we're known for our really big dogs. And we've rescued more than 15,500 dogs.
Wow.
At all times during the last 26 years. We always have a minimum of 50 or more dogs living in our home with us. All of the dogs we've rescued, all 15,500, have lived in our home with us, every single one. We have 45 different breeds, ranging from tiny 2-pound Chinese cresteds, which are 1/3 the size of a Chihuahua, all the way up to our giants, which are up right around 300 pounds. And that's not an overweight dog. That is a giant dog. We have some that stand on their hind legs 7 feet 5, which is 4.5 inches taller than Shaquille O'Neal. So we have really big dogs here. And we have little dogs, and we have all ages. We never breed, but we do rescue litters from animal shelters. The shelters always like to, if a pregnant mother comes in and has her puppies, they want to get them out of the shelter as soon as possible because there's so many dogs there and there's a potential for disease. Mm-hmm. So we've had thousands of puppies as well. In the course of caring for so many dogs, first of all, have a much shorter lifespan than humans. And people love their dogs, man's best friend. Dogs love you unconditionally. But the problem is they don't live very long. And most of them really, on average, actually only live 7 or 8 years. But the thing is that with our breeds, the larger breeds, they even have the shortest lifespans. Great Danes with an average lifespan 7 to 9 years. Mastiffs, Irish Wolfhounds, lifespan 6 to 8 years. So the ones that we didn't adopt, if we lost one, it was very devastating for Tracy and I, my wife, when we would lose a dog. And going back now of the last 26 years, probably 24 years ago, we decided that if there was a way, we would help these dogs live longer and healthier lives. And we first developed a feeding and care program. We feed and care for dogs differently than other people. And what we do is really terrific because it adds an average of 3 to 5 years to each dog's life just by the way you feed them and the way you care for them. After doing this, so in case of our Great Danes that were living 7 to 9 years, this brought them up to 10 to 12 years. And then we decided, what could we do more? Well, the only thing left was to create a food that would, and again, this was for our rescue dogs. We never at the time thought of selling it or anything, but we couldn't stand to see our dogs living such short lives. So we developed what we believe is the finest dog food in the world. It is different from all other dog foods. It's what I call pure nutrition, without any chemicals, without any artificial flavors or preservatives. The very best ingredients from the very best sources of ingredients. And our food is been so successful that our dogs are living consistently twice their normal lifespan. And some of our dogs are living as long as 27 and a half years, running around. Almost all of our dogs are living twice their normal lifespan, but our dogs are in their 20s, running around like puppies. And
that's
people
amazing.
Can't understand that because they, their dogs aren't doing that. And people call us all the time. And they say, what am I doing wrong? But why is it I watch your videos and these dogs in their 20s, they're not limping around. They're running like puppies. They're jumping in the air when my dog is having trouble getting around. So you actually, in your introduction, mentioned something very valuable. We are one of very few dog food, very, very few, probably less than 4 or 5 in the world that have no GMOs in our food, which is very big because genetically modified organisms are in plants. As an example, let's take rice. 98% of all the rice in the United States is GMO rice, genetically modified. Why is that done? Well, because when you grow rice, if you have pests that attack the rice and then you spray a pesticide on it, it would kill the plant. So their engineering was done so the plant wouldn't die and the rice could be grown, but the problem is the plant still absorbs the pesticide. And dogs are much more, and cats, because we have now our own Gentle Giants cat and kitten food. Pets are not as well designed as human beings. They're more susceptible to the problems. So we have a video on our website that we actually got from a site that does research on GMOs. And this video is all these different veterinarians across America and even from the UK. And basically what all the veterinarians that are interviewed say is that in the last, for 10, 15, 20 years ago, they would see 1 patient a month that had cancer. Now, every single day, 1 out of every 2 patients has cancer.
Oh my!
A dog or a cat. And this is so unnecessary. So one thing that we have is non-GMO, but there's something else that you didn't mention that I'm not sure you're aware of, which is the really big thing. So if whoever has your dog right now, if you have it at your house or your family member has it, and if you're not using Gentle Giants dog food, the dog can only live half its lifespan. Now, that's a big statement, but let me tell you why. All you have to do is just whoever's feeding the dog, tell them to go pick up a few of the kibbles that they're feeding the dog. Rub the kibbles in their fingers, okay? Then put the kibbles down and rub their fingers together. They're going to feel that slightly greasy feeling. You can feel the dog's bowl after they eat, slightly greasy feeling. If you're brave, you can stick your hand down into the bag of dog food below the surface of the top level of the food and feel the insides of the bag. You'll feel that slightly greasy feeling. What are you feeling? You're feeling animal fat. And what is happening is dog food companies spray the outside of their food with animal fat for one reason, to get dogs to eat more. Well, guess what? When dogs eat more, you have to buy more.
Makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
But let me tell you how bad that is. Okay. Think of it this way. I'm sure neither you nor Kathleen would take a can of bacon fat and pour it down your garbage disposal at home, would you?
Not even
You
close.
wouldn't do that because you know that unlike water that evaporates, animal fat coagulates. And when it hardens, it's like cement. So if you took a can of bacon grease or chicken fat or turkey fat and you poured it down your garbage disposal, you let it sit there 4 or 5 hours, hey, you'd be calling a plumber to buy yourself a new garbage disposal. So what is my point? The point is, when you realize that animal fat will ruin a metal garbage disposal, what do you think that animal fat is doing to the arteries and intestines of your dog and everybody else's dog? When every single day, every single meal, every single bite, every single kibble is encapsulated in animal fat, it's cutting their life down dramatically. Most people tell us when they switch their dogs to Gentle Giant's dog food, after a month, they literally call us or write to us and tell us they think they have a different dog. We're not talking about a slight improvement. We're talking about a major, major health improvement. And you say, well, what could be so major? Well, here's what it is. There's a wonderful thing that happens with animals, and that is the animals' bodies will reject the fat that has been put on the food and entered into their body. It will reject it. And it takes about a month for all that fat to come out of a dog's arteries and intestines. The problem is other dog foods put the fat right back in. So the dog never gets the benefit. Gentle Giants doesn't put that excessive fat back in. And as a result, the dog's arteries and intestines are open and clear. The nutrition flows throughout the body much more efficiently. The dog feels better. The dog looks better. The coat better. I have people that tell us, oh, for the last 3 years, my dog can't jump up on the bed anymore, my little dog. And now after 4 or 5 weeks on Gentle Giants, my dog is jumping back up on the bed. Thank you for giving me my puppy back.
Oh, that's cool.
And this is real. And we consistently, right now, about 60 to 65% of the dogs, more than 50 that we have here, have already lived more than twice their normal lifespan. More than twice. That is consistency.
That's incredible.
So we make Gentle Giants dog and puppy food. Gentle Giants dog and puppy food is available in Walmart, in Target, and every online retailer, as well as our own website, gentlegiantsdogfood.com. Well, let me tell you something interesting. We also rescue cats. Not as many cats as dogs, but we've rescued over the years about 350 cats. That's a pretty substantial amount of cats. We did a test over the last few years of feeding our cats our dog food because we hadn't created cat food yet. Mm-hmm. And last year we lost 2 of our cats. One was 31 years old and the other cat was 32 years old.
Word.
Oh, wow.
And they, for the last 15 years, have been eating Gentle Giant's dog food, our canned food. Now cats do need a little more protein. So we put regular cat food there, but 75% of what they ate was Gentle Giant's dog food. And here they live 31 and 32 years. So we have just recently in the last few months come out with Gentle Giant's cat and kitten food. And we've gotten so many thank yous from veterinarians because they feed it to their own cats. And it's working very well. So again, this is our charity. My wife, Tracy, and I, we don't take any salary from this. This is not about money. This is about making a better world. And for all those people that love their pet, dog or cat, what a wonderful thing if we can give them an extra 5 or 10 years with that pet. My own daughter, Melody, we have pictures on our bag and on our website. She grew up with the same dogs, had the same dog for more than 20 years. What a wonderful thing for a child to be able to grow up with their pet and have their pet for more than 20 years. Because let's take a look at what really happens out there in the world. People think, what a great idea. Let's get a pet for our child. And then the dog dies at 10 or 11. And now you're explaining to a 10 or 11-year-old child what death is. I mean, it's wonderful when you can keep an animal, a pet, your best friend, living longer and healthier.
Oh, absolutely.
I know that your daughter and I your daughter's a little bit older than me, about a year older than me. So for her to have the same pet, I've had 2 dogs. Like the dog that I grew up with was a year older than me. She died when I was 10. And then we got another dog when I was 12 and she just died 2 years ago. Like
Yeah.
it's hard when you lose your friends.
It's
And I mean,
very,
our second
very,
dog
very
was
hard.
our second dog was 16, but still, it's hard.
Right. Well, and you know, I'll be honest with you. Life is the most precious commodity in the world. There's nothing more precious than life. And people, especially with this horrible pandemic we've had over the last year, that a lot of people trapped at home, and you know, their pets were so nurturing to them as a member of their family. And of course, you know, dogs and cats, they love you unconditionally. So it's really valuable when you can help any living creature live longer and healthier. By the way, our animals here, because of our food, they're so healthy, we actually have no illness here. Zero. The only time our dogs and cats go to a veterinarian is every 3 years for a $10 rabies update.
Oh, wow.
So we're not
incredible.
spending money on vet bills. Now, when we first started our rescue, we were spending enormous amounts of money because these dogs and cats were coming in every god-awful condition. I mean, I don't even want to tell you the things that happened, and we were spending 4 or 5 nights a week at animal clinics trying to save lives. You know, they're with vets that working late trying to save an animal's life. And for the most part, we saved almost every life. Okay, and that's a
cool.
lot of lives.
That's amazing.
So this has been our charity. We love animals. We've got both our Gentle Giants dog and cat and dog and puppy food, and our Gentle Giants cat and kitten food. And these are available, like I said, Walmart, Target, and online retailers. And we invite your listeners and viewers, if they want their animal to have a chance to live into the late 20s, or maybe even longer if it's a cat, get Gentle Giants, follow our feeding and care program, and you can get the same results that we're getting.
Yeah, I'm going to be looking into it more. We have a Corgi now, and she's only 2 years old, but yeah.
Well, like I said, go feel your dog's food. And once you feel the grease on the outside of that food, and you say to yourself, would I want to be eating greasy food as my sole meal every single day?
Well, you know, the thing is, actually, as you were saying that, I was already thinking in my head the last time I fed the dog food, their dog food, and you know, some fell out on the floor, and I was scooping it up, and I had that greasy feel to it. Yeah.
And that's the thing is, as you're talking about it, and I'm thinking about how disgusting the dog food feels. Our dog is at the end of this bag of dog food, and we are not getting that kind again. She is getting Gentle Giants after this.
Oh, that's great. And one other thing that's important.
Wait to see the results.
Transitioning your dog.
Yes.
Okay. Think of it this way. All these other foods are full of fat. I mean, not just the outside. They fill the inside because it makes dogs hungrier. So our food doesn't have all that fat. I mean, dog food, most of them anywhere from 12 to 22% pure fat.
Wow.
So Gentle Giants is only what's naturally in the food, which is about 9%. So think of it this way. In human terms, if you were a person that maybe your whole life you only ate meat and potatoes, and now for the first time in your life you're having fruit and salads, it's a different density. Mm-hmm. So in the case of dogs, going from a fat-filled food to a food that isn't full of fat, isn't full of grease, you know what I mean, doesn't have too much protein, all of that kind of stuff, you transition over a 1 week period. And you do that by mixing, so save a little bit of that other food, mixing the old food with Gentle Giants over 1 week in a following proportion. Day 1, 80% is the old food. Only 20% Gentle Giants on day 1, because this is going to be a major introduction to them. Mm-hmm. Day 2, 70-30. Day 3, 60-40. Day 4, 50-50. And then day 5, 60% Gentle Giants. Day 6, 70%. Day 7, 80%. Day 8, you're switched over, no diarrhea.
That's awesome.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
It'll be really well. But the key thing is wait after you've switched that 4 to 5 weeks, when all of that grease that is filling their arteries and intestines, when that all comes out, you're going to see a completely different dog.
I'm excited because my dog has a lot of skin issues. She's a pit bull lab mix, and so they are very prone to environmental allergies, to skin allergies.
Well, let me tell you something you
might
to
see that.
To know. Let me tell you something you probably don't know. Fat contains toxins, not poisons, toxins. Toxins cause irritations and allergic reactions. I can't tell you how many people that call us. Well, first of all, I can tell you 1,100 people a week contact us. either by Facebook Messenger, emails, phone calls. And a lot of these people are saying the same thing. I don't know what to do. I've gone to so many different proteins. I've fed beef, chicken, fish, duck, quail, kangaroo, alligator. I've tried everything. And I bought all these different food from different companies. And my dog is still scratching. My dog is rubbed his fur off. And I don't understand. My dog must be allergic to everything. Well, guess what? The dog isn't allergic to those proteins. The dog is allergic to the high fat content in the food. So when they went from one food to the other, they didn't realize that what wasn't changing was that high fat content. And that's why we don't add that extra fat into our food. We keep it at what's naturally in the food.
That's
excellent.
Awesome.
And so for you guys who are listening, before we move on from this real quick, I just want to make sure that everybody knows to go to gentlegiantsdogfood.com. You can find their stuff there. I plan on buying mine from Chewy.com. That's where we get a lot of our dog food and things like that. It's also available on Chewy. It is extremely highly rated. I was looking at this last night and going, out of like 6,000 some odd reviews, it's like a 4.9. You can't ask for a better review on a public website. That's amazing. Everybody's going to have something negative to say somewhere, somehow, unfortunately, in this day and age. But for that many reviews and to have that high of a rating, I told my wife, I'm like, yeah, this is what we're getting next. So I'm very excited that it was out there and on our favorite dog food provider. That's where we get our stuff.
Yes, a lot of people do.
So you've mentioned that you have 50 dogs in your house at a time, and I know
always a minimum of 50.
That
we could have a lot more.
Oh,
we feed 600 pounds of Gentle Giants here every day. So if you took a look at one of our big bags, we feed 20 of those every single day for the last 26 years.
Wow.
That is insane. So I have one 50-pound dog. One 50-pound dog. I have a small house, but one 50-pound dog. Not 50 dogs that are up to 300 pounds.
Right.
How do you live with a pack that size? How do you navigate your house through all of those giants?
Well, actually, after 26 years, it's really very easy. I'll tell you, the most difficult thing in our house to do is to get to the bathroom in the middle of the night without tripping and breaking your neck. Because these dogs, they don't like get out in separate piles. They are very nurturing and they love each other. So they get together and there's no room to put your foot in between any dog. So what do? I carefully get out of bed. Now they're on the bed too. And sometimes it's hard getting out of your own bed when you got a 200-pound dog laying across your lap. All right. But assuming I'm successful in getting out of the bed, then I have to reach for the wall, the closest wall, and walk along holding my hands on the wall and carefully tiptoeing to try to find a spot or to work my foot in between two dogs so I can get to the bathroom. But I'll tell you something. If you lose your balance, you go down, they don't move. I mean, you have to understand, they're pure muscle. These dogs are so much better conditioned than humans. And being bigger than a human. I mean, there are photos on our website where, these dogs are towering over Tracy and she's 5'5" and they're standing 7'4", 7'5",
big dogs.
And yet I'll tell you what's something interesting. The bigger they are, the more gentle they are.
Oh yeah.
It's really amazing because they're not intimidated by a human being. If you think about it, a little tiny dog, they look up at this giant human being. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm just, it's like a giant here. But you get one of our giants. I mean, just to give you an idea, one of our dogs, we had the largest dog in the world here. His name was Avalanche. Okay. Avalanche was 7 feet, 5.5 inches when he stood on his hind legs, 305 pounds. Okay.
Oof.
And to give you an idea how big he was, okay, the lowest part of his back when he was on 4 legs, okay, down on 4 legs, right? The lowest part of his back was 45.5 inches, which is 5.5 inches higher than your kitchen counter. The lowest part of his back. And he would lean way down to drink from the kitchen faucet.
Oh, that's funny.
That's
4 legs.
Crazy.
Right.
That's
and I'll
a
tell you
big dog.
something. He was the most loving dog in the world. I could take him and another dog, and here they are. One, he's 305 pounds. The other was 260 pounds. And I could hold them with my pinky fingers, hold their leashes. And I could just gently pull them, and they would go anywhere. It's like power steering. They were so easy because they're so much bigger than a human being. They weren't, intimidated by a human being.
Oh my goodness.
And I really think that's the most impressive thing with how many Great Danes you have in the mix, because I mean they're great dogs. Don't get me wrong, but they're huge dogs. One of my best friends has a Great Dane, and wowzers! I mean, he takes up so much room. His name is Kaiser. He's an awesome dog. But the thing that keeps crossing my mind with all of this, because I'm a guy and I have bathroom humor on the brain, is I hope you guys have a grounds crew for this, because that is one well fertilized patch of grass you have there, sir.
Yeah, well, you can't use dog stool for fertilizer either.
No.
Well, 600 pounds in a day, you've got probably 500 pounds out a day. We have pooper scoopers, professional pooper scoopers, and
I'm sure.
double bag it. We have a big bin. But here, let me share. You're talking about realizing how big a Great Dane is. Let me just tell you what happened in the very beginning. This is August of 1994. We rescued our first Great Dane. We wanted a Great Dane. We rescued one. We rescued a second one, and then we heard of others that were in people's homes. They weren't in a shelter where they were in immediate danger. So we didn't rescue the others, and later we found out that the people that were in their homes, they couldn't hold on to them. Nobody took them. They went to a shelter and they were put to sleep. And it just so upset my wife and I. So it was the first week in August of 1994 that I said to my wife, Tracy, I said, look, we can't let these dogs die, right? I mean, just for 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, let us rescue these dogs. And I'm sure that I'll find somebody in 2 weeks to take over this rescue. It's been 26 years. I'm still looking for somebody to take over this rescue, right? But to give you an idea, so you can really picture what it was like here, by the end of August of 1994, because we didn't have any, nobody took it over, and we're taking in all the Great Danes, okay? We had 102 Great Danes here, full size, in our house.
Oh, man.
102 Great Danes, full size in our house. Plus, we had 62 puppies under 7 weeks of age, 7 litters that we got from animal shelters. And Tracy, who my wife only sleeps 2 hours a night since she's a child, it's a very unique style of living. And I don't know how she does it, but she does. But even she was worn out because we had these litters, and she was sleeping on the kitchen floor with, like, she'd bring in a litter at a time. There's the mother. She's making sure they stay connected, nursing the mother. And then after the nursing, the mother would get up to go to the bathroom. And if a Great Dane accidentally stood on a puppy, it would kill it. So she got to make sure that those puppies are not getting stepped on, get that mother outside to have a chance to go to the bathroom, collect the puppies, get them into our incubation area where it was kept very warm and stuff for them, and then bring the mother in, and then go get the next mother and her puppies and do this. By the time she got finished with the 7th litter, it was time to start the first litter again. She was living in our kitchen, sleeping on the floor, having to open the refrigerator to get food, and she lived like that for almost 2 months until these puppies got old enough that, we didn't have to do this.
Funny Science Fiction will be right back after a word from our sponsors. With over 700 designs to choose from, River City Tees has something for everyone. Need some new nerd merch? River City Tees has you covered. Need funny or sarcastic designs? River City Tees has you covered. Are you looking for a new logo or custom design? Whether you need 1 or 100, River City Tees has you covered. With multiple colors and options for each and every design. With things to choose from like shirts, hoodies, phone cases, coffee mugs, and so much more. Be sure to follow River City Tees on Facebook and Instagram. If you do, you'll get the latest on designs and information about upcoming sales. River City Tees. Let's make a shirt together. And now back to Funny Science Fiction.
But just think, 102 full-size Great Danes in your house.
I'm tired just thinking about it.
I don't have enough room in my house for that.
Well, on our, you showed that on your on the show a few minutes ago, At the beginning of our website, there's 50 of them on our bed. Well, around our bed, and many of them on
Right.
the bed,
Yeah.
as many that can get on at one time. But it's really and we have no. Listen, if you hear, I'm amongst 50 dogs now. You don't hear any barking.
No.
You don't hear any noise. Our dogs are all trained not to bark unless they sense danger, and we do that because barking is the beginning of aggressive behavior, and you don't want to have any aggressive behavior with your dog. If you ever were in trouble, your dog will protect you, but you don't want aggressive behavior. And so you teach them that everybody should get along. We're all a family and all of that kind of stuff.
That's cool. All right. So let's change pace here a little bit, Burt, if you don't mind.
Okay. My pleasure.
All right. So would like to talk to you a little bit about your time in the Batman show.
Uh-huh.
So, your show, though, was the precursor to so many of the superhero movies and shows that we see on the air today. I mean, that was really what showed people that these type of shows could attract a following and that they were viable and that people would want to see these type of things. Of course, over the years, it's also been written off that it was silly or campy in comparison with today's grittier dramas and, what they do with the backstories that are given to a lot of the characters. I, however, love the original Batman series. I think it's a fantastic show, and I think it was perfect for the time that it was created for and that it was made for. But why do you think that version of Batman and Robin will never go out of style?
Because it was designed and it was designed and it completely fulfilled the needs of every conceivable audience. For children, the hero worship of Batman and Robin, for the adults, the nostalgia of the comic book.
Mm-hmm.
In the 60s, when our show came on, that was a period of time when college kids and high schoolers, nobody wanted to be watching television. No way. They wanted to be out cruising around the outdoor restaurants on Friday and Saturday night, revving up their engines and all that. But they loved Batman. Why? Because of the double meanings and the campy style. And, it was such, in a way, an irreverent period where, I had lines like, "Gosh, Bruce, you're right." And nobody in that period would say, "Gosh, Dad, you're right." I mean, that would be the last thing on earth they would do, and so they loved it because it was so satirical and with all the double meanings and the suggestiveness and I remember, people telling us that on a Tuesday and Thursday night in the colleges, you had to get into the cafeteria an hour and a half in advance if you wanted to even get a seat to watch Batman.
Wow.
So it was tremendous. It's something for everybody. And I must tell you, if you think about the tremendous success, we were the #1 and #2 show in the entire world because we were on twice a week, and look at all the superhero movies that have continued, that have come out as a result of Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay. And something else that's a little more subtle, we created something in our show that is used today in every movie. And I'm going to share that with you.
Okay.
On Batman, even at the most critical time, when something really was horrible to happen, we would have some line of comedy, played very straight, but some line of statement that just took the edge off things. So, let me give you an example. We're in a warehouse looking for the Joker, and all of a sudden, these big 8 henchmen kind of just dropped down from wherever they were onto the ground, and they're ready to fight us. And I have a line to Batman. I says, "Gosh, Batman, there's 8 of them against 2 of us. Odds in our favor." Right? Because there was only 8 of them, right? Now, if there had been 20, it might have been different. And you look at today's movies, you can look at any movie, even movies like Bad Boys, where right in the most dangerous time of all, they turn around and one of them will say, "Well, I'm not coming to your house anymore." I mean, they break up the drama with a comedic thing, something funny. And the Avengers, I mean, everyone has this. and Adam and I created that. Okay, and that is used permanently in filmmaking. So there was a lot of great stuff on Batman. We were way ahead of our time.
Absolutely.
Ahead of our time.
Absolutely.
And we were in people's homes. And this was a different time, the 60s. This was a simpler time. I think in many ways a happier time. There, this is when the family would have dinner, and after dinner they'd sit there to watch TV as a family, and right after dinner, here was Batman coming on, and these kids that watched us have grown up, and now they're adults. And I can't tell you how many times when I would make appearances at these Comic-Cons across the country, and actually I've done more than 7,000 personal appearances in my career, and signed more than 8.5 million autographs. But the thing is that I can't tell you how many times people come up and say, I love this as a kid. My whole, they just loved it, and they loved us because we were in their home with them twice a week. It was really special, and we had some great funny things. I mean, like for example, Batman and Robin were chasing these villains down a street, and they cross the street, and I start to run across the street. Batman says, "No, Robin, we must use the crosswalk." Well, when you used the crosswalk, it slowed you way down because you're going through and then you got to go and run much farther to try to catch these guys. So it's that kind of wonderful, just simplistic humor of a different time in a simpler world where, it was like the Flower Children and love and all these, great things and the big concerts, that they would have. And stuff like that. It was just a simpler time. There wasn't so much division and hatefulness and bitterness and all these negative things that unfortunately our children are growing up to and experiencing.
Yeah.
Agreed. So
50 years later, almost 50 years later, you got to go back and be Robin again in the DC universe in the 2019 Crisis on Infinite Earth.
Right. Well, actually, many times before that, let me tell you something. We came off the series. We had 2 specials, Legend of the Superheroes, and it was a 2-part thing. After that, I've had so many animation shows. Or Batman, where Filmation did a whole series with a character they called Batmite.
Yes.
Bat character. I've so many different things. So guest appearances on. Like The Simpsons, there was this, and then just so many different shows, animation shows that I've done. And then a couple of years ago, 2 full-length Warner Brother feature films, animated features with my voice and Adam West's voice before he passed. And in fact, the last one was the Batman versus Two-Face that Adam West did the voice of Batman. I did the voice of Robin, and William Shatner did the voice of Two-Face. And I mean, just imagine, here are the 2 most iconic television shows in history, Batman and Star Trek, with the actors working together.
Joining forces, yeah.
Yeah, it was great. So, and yes, I did the Crisis on Infinite Earths. They put me in just before the main titles. It was a great bit. I flew up to Vancouver where they were filming. Had a lot of fun doing that. Also, about 6 months ago, Warner Brothers, or I should say DC Comics, which is a division of Warner Brothers, they published a fabulous coffee table book called Robin, 80 Years of the Boy Wonder. I mean, it is one of these incredible,
that's cool, big,
thick, beautiful coffee table books, gorgeous printing. And they came to me and I wrote the introduction.
Oh, that's Robin. Awesome.
I mean, it's like a 4 or 5 page introduction. So it's really, every couple years something is going on. Plus all the appearances, 7,000. Can you imagine what it's like? 7,000 appearances for 25 years of over 50 years I made appearances. But for 25 of those years, I did 300 cities a year. 300 cities in 365 days. I lived out of a suitcase.
Yeah.
For 25 years.
I mean,
that's a lot of work to do.
Yes,
So
it is.
it's been great, and and plus for DC with their streaming service, the DC Universe. I
Mhm.
did all the introductions of the various shows. I videotaped that for them. So Warner Brothers is constantly in contact with me every year for some project here or there, and of course lots of interviews worldwide because of just the notoriety and how precious Batman has become a classic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So obviously, you love getting to step back into that Robin role anytime it's
Well,
presented
it's
to
funny
you.
you should say step into the role. I'm going to tell you a quick story. When I was hired, I actually was selling real estate with working for my father in Beverly Hills. I was doing what they call sitting on houses. That's where on a weekend, where they have open houses, somebody needs to be there and, hand out brochures, answer questions, stuff like that. And this was back in 1965. And there was a well-known producer that came into one of the houses. I ended up buying the house, and I met him. And I, believe it or not, on the moment, I just asked him if I could do a scene for him, and he said, "Oh, okay." I did a scene, and he said, "That's really good. I'll send you to an agent." He sent me to an agent. Agent said, "I can't get any work for my actors. I would never take a new person. The only reason I'm taking you is because of this producer. Don't expect to work for a year, and if you do, you might get one line." I mean, how much more depressing could that be for somebody wanting to make a career in this? But it was a couple weeks later that I got a phone call from someone at that agency. Said, we don't know what it is, but 20th Century Fox is interviewing young guys. We got you an appointment tomorrow, 4:30. Go over there. So the next day I went to 20th Century Fox, which is in West Los Angeles. And they had a pass for me. I parked in the lot and I walked to a bungalow and I was introduced to the casting director. He asked me a couple of questions, didn't tell me anything about the role, anything, nothing. And then he said, "Would you like to meet the executive producer?" Well, for me, I had been studying acting professionally and studying at UCLA where I was attending college, but I had never actually tried out for anything, and I'd never even been in a studio. So for me, this was the first time. So when the casting director said, "Would you like to meet the executive producer?" I said, "Sure." I mean, I figured everybody got to meet the executive producer, right? Well, that's not true, but I didn't know that.
Right.
So he sent me to another bungalow, and they said, "Okay, you can go in. Mr. Dozier's there." I walked in and I saw him there, and I said, "Hello, sir. Nice to meet you." And he's like, "Oh my gosh, this actor is just aggressive, but in a proper way, nice way."
Sure, sure.
I mean, I hate to tell you this, but actors have been so turned down and so emotionally damaged. They probably go in like this, they're just they try to make the best of it, but they've been rejected. And if you're selling a product and somebody doesn't like your product, that's okay. But if you're the product, it's pretty demoralizing. So anyway, I just walked in, "Hello, sir," and I shook his hand, and he was taken aback, and he looked at me and said, "Well, you're kind of big for the part." I said, "Oh, but sir, I promise you, I won't grow anymore." And he laughed. How could you stop growing? And he asked me a couple questions. Then he said, "Would you like to do a screen test?" I said, "Sure." Again, I figured everybody got to do a screen test. Well, no, that's not true either. On the day from my screen test, I went to back to 20th Century Fox. They sent me to a sound stage. They said, "Well, we want to see some athletic stuff. The role has a person that's athletic." Well, I was a brown belt in karate, so I did some stuff in karate. Then I broke a board with my hand, which at that time, back in 1965, karate had only been in the United States since 1959, and almost nobody had ever seen anybody break a board with their hand. So that stood out to them. And then they said, "Okay, well, now that we've seen the athletic stuff, we want you to work with this other actor. We're going to give you some lines, and we just want you to do a scene with him." I said, "Okay." So they handed me a single sheet of paper that had these paragraphs, just like 4 paragraphs. And there was Bruce, not Bruce Wayne, just Bruce with some dialogue. And then under that, there was Dick with some dialogue. And they said, "Oh, you're going to play Dick." I said, "Oh, okay." And I sat down. I was introduced to this actor, Adam West. And we started talking. This is 15 minutes before our screen test. In 5 minutes, the two of us were laughing, and we never
That's
stopped
awesome.
laughing for over 50 years. I mean, I just love that man. We just got along so great. We were just instant friends. And you know,
That's
and
cool.
I really believe that chemistry is one of the things that made our show so successful.
Oh, definitely.
Agreed.
Batman, I was never in 120 episodes directed by a director how to say a line. They might say, oh, well, you're in this scene, you're in the Batmobile, or this scene, you're sitting at the Bat computer, or you're in front of the atomic pile, or whatever, you know what I mean? Or, you know, whatever, they might direct you where you are. But nobody ever told me how to do a line. Nobody ever told Adam how to do his lines. We just had this chemistry that was just, and I reacted the way he would say his line. I would react appropriately. I mean, so it always worked. It was just very smooth. Anyway, so I did this dialogue again. Bruce and Dick. How am I don't have any idea what it is. There's nothing about comic books or Batman or villains. You know what I mean? Just dialogue. And they said, okay, we're done with that. And I said, well, thank you very much, and nice to meet you all. And I started to leave. I said, whoa, wait. We're not done with you yet. I said, oh, okay. They said, we want you to go over to that other end of the sound stage. We have 2 wardrobe men there. They're actually waiting for you at this trailer. They're going to help you get dressed. And I stopped for a second. I said, well, with all due respect, I'm perfectly capable of dressing myself. Oh, no, you don't understand. Oh, no. You just go over there and you get to that trailer. You'll understand when you get there. So I walked, and this soundstage, I'm telling you, it's like walking 3 blocks in a city street. I mean, just huge. They're gigantic. So I go over to the other end of the soundstage. Sure enough, there's a trailer, and there's these 2 wardrobe guys inside the trailer. And I look down and I see it's like a giant bench. It's almost, but it's like as wide as a bed, and it's like 9 feet long. And there's all this stuff. And I said to one of the guys, I said, am I going to put some of this on? And he said, no, you're actually going to put all of it on. I said, what? And these 2 guys helped me get dressed in the most uncomfortable costume in my entire life. I can't tell you how uncomfortable it was. It defies words. Every single thing of that costume was miserable. For example, even my mask. It rubbed my eyelashes. And if you have something, you try to talk, and if something is rubbing your eyelashes, I mean, man was not built for tights. My back boots were too tight. The vest, wool vest, was poking through the T-shirt, like that raw wool on my chest was itchy. The cape was double thick bridal satin and pulling my head way back, and I had to literally tilt my head forward to stay in a normal thing, Anyway, so and I could hardly walk. And because of the mask, I could only see straight ahead. I can't see down. I can't see to the side. There's no peripheral vision. All right. So when I stepped out of that trailer, I nearly broke my neck because I missed a step. Right.
Oh, my.
And I'm so miserable, and I'm so uncomfortable. And I'm like this. Look at this. Everything is like, oh, you know what I mean? It's like in a suit of armor. Right. Only worse because the tights were pinching and pulling, and
skin tight suit of armor.
So being the kind of person that I've always been is a positive person. You understand? And you always try to make the best of things, right? So I said to these wardrobe guys, I said, well, the good news here is that after another 15 or 20 minutes, I'll never have to put this costume on again. Famous
Little
last
did
word.
you know.
You're right.
Or not.
Well, one of the things is that many actors, I don't think, get a chance really to have a character like Robin, where it's something identifiable to them for so long. Really a signature character. Because when people talk about Robin, they don't talk about Chris O'Donnell from the Batman and Robin movie. They talk about Burt Ward from the Batman TV show.
Right.
And not that Chris O'Donnell did a bad job. I'm not saying that.
Right.
But your role was iconic for so many reasons. Sometimes, though, from what I understand, and I say from what I understand because no one's flagging me down on the street and going, "Hey, you're the guy from that podcast thing, aren't you?" Yeah. But from what I understand, it could be difficult to get used to the attention of the fans. So what I'm curious is, how did you learn how to deal with the fame of being Robin in the Batman show, and all these diehard fans over the years who want your attention when you go to these Comic Cons and things like that.
Right. All right. Well, first, let me. I want to. One thing I forgot to tell you, I think, is very important because both you and Kathleen have said about getting into the role and all this. Let me tell you what the executive producer said to me that when I came after I found out I had the role and I came to the studio for the first time. William Dozier came to me and he said, "Burt, would you like to know why we hired you?" And I said, "Yes, yes, I would." He said, "We interviewed more than 1,100 young actors for this role. And the reason we picked you, Burt, is because in our minds, forgetting television, if there really was a Robin, I mean, like the real thing, you personally would be it. So we don't want you to take on this role as a role. We actually want you, Burt Ward, to be yourself and be enthusiastic." Well, being enthusiastic is like breathing for me. You know what I mean? I mean, is there any other speed other than full steam ahead? So through the years, people would say, when I go back and I do a show or do the movie, "Oh, was it hard to get back in the role?" Well, of course not, because there really was no role. Everything about that character was me being myself, hitting my hands together. All the mannerisms that you saw on the show were something that I just did because I felt I wanted to do it. Quick example. In the very first episode with the Riddler, Batman and Robin, we drive to this warehouse, or we think it's a warehouse, but it's actually a museum, the back of a museum that we've heard that the Riddler is going to try to steal something prominent from the museum. So we race up here to the outside of this building, and as you probably know from watching the show, I didn't always just open the door and get out, right? Like I would jump over the door.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in this particular case, right, I am motivated because I'm doing what I think is right. So, action. Batman opens the door, gets out. I stand up in the seat, stand up on top of the door, and walk on the narrow fin of the door to the back of the fin, to the back of the Batmobile and jump off. Okay? The director says, cut! What are you doing, Burt? What do you mean? What am I doing? I just got out of the Batmobile and jumped off the back. Well, you can't do that. You didn't tell us you're going to do that. We're all lit for you to come out the door. And then I hear the director say, "I loved what he just did." you lay that track. We're gonna dolly with him as he walks back, and that's how we use it in the shot.
Oh, interesting.
And later I found out. In fact, I got my star on Hollywood Boulevard last year, which is a great honor. I mean, I waited 50 years. I mean, I tell people I am a patient person, but 50 years. I mean, that's kind of a long time.
Pretty much.
Anyway, so right after the ceremony where I got my star on Hollywood Boulevard, it is a tradition for that person, that celebrity, to kind of like throw a little kind of thank you party, where people can have hors d'oeuvres or whatever. So around the corner from the Guinness Museum of World Records, mine is right in front of that Guinness Museum, my star, and it's like 3 or 5 feet away from Adam's star, and they're facing each other, which is really cool. They did that on purpose because that was the distance we stood apart from each other when they were filming. All right.
Oh, cool.
Anyway, I threw this little afternoon thank you party, and at the party, my press agent, Roger Neal, had invited a lot of people, Batman fans and Batman, actors and actresses, just lots of people to come. And one of the people that came unexpectedly, he probably invited him, I just didn't know he was coming, was Robert Butler, who directed the pilot episode of Batman.
Oh, that's cool. I
hadn't seen that man in 55 years. Okay? And he said hello to me, and I couldn't believe him. I hugged him, and he says, "Burt, I have a story for you." And I said, "Yes?" He says, "You don't know this." He said, "But when I came on the set back there in September of 1965, the executive producer, William Dozier, pulled me aside and said, 'We've got this new kid playing Robin, and I'd like you to go over and talk to him and see if you think you can work with him. Okay? And you know what? I remember him coming over to me that first day on the set and said, you know, can I speak to you for a few minutes? I said, oh, you're the director, of course, anything you want, right? So he talked to me, and anyway, and I didn't know why he was talking to me, other than I thought maybe just saying hello.
Mhm.
But here on the day I got my star, 55 years later, he tells me, he said, I went back to the producer, and he said, you think you can work with this guy? You know, do you think you can direct him to work? He says, let me tell you something. When somebody is so right for something, you stay the heck out of the way and let them do what they do perfectly. He said, I'm not going to direct him to do anything, because whatever he does, it is exactly what's right. And so when I got out of the Batmobile, walked on the fence, nobody, who would ever expect anybody to do that, and jumped down. He loved it. He loved the stuff that I did, not because I was a great actor, but because I just was into it, you know? I mean, if you think about it and you immerse yourself like in a daydream and you just do what you think you would do. It's not acting. I'm just, you know, I'm playing the character. I'm going right for the, you know, for the villain. So anyway, that was that. Now, to answer your question, which was it hard to adjust to fame? I never thought of myself, and still don't think of myself as, quote, famous or anything special. I just never was that way. I never wasn't brought up to believe that. What I found myself doing was when I would make appearances in costume and I have this mask on, just think if you're like sitting in your living room and you're watching television, right? For me, looking through that mask was like looking at the television. So in the television, all these people can do stuff, and you're just like a third-party bystander. You're watching. So for me, when all these people are like, oh, Robin this and Robin that, that's like me watching a movie. I didn't relate it personally. I did, you know, it wasn't personal to me.
Okay.
I was the you know, I was just enjoying it. So for me, it was a little weird when you have to have certain security and things like that that I never had before. But for me, I wasn't any different, and it never changed me. I never got that, quote, Hollywood star attitude. I couldn't care less about it. You know, I'm just a real person, and although I must tell you, people will call because our phone number's on the back of our bag of dog food, and they'll call about a question about dog food, and they'll hear me talk and say, "Gosh, you sound familiar." He said, don't I know you from someplace? Well, I don't know. And they said, wait a minute, you sound like him. Like who? Robin. Are you Burt Ward? Yeah. Oh my God, honey, I'm talking to Burt Ward. Get on the phone, quick, get the family on the phone, pick up all the extensions. And, you know, and it's like, I don't think of it, you know, I mean, my wife Tracy and I, we just live a normal life. You know, we're just regular, average people, you know, that did a very successful show, and we love the show. We have the greatest respect. And I loved Adam. He and I were such good friends. So for me, there, I guess, other than the fact of, well, how do you handle it when you have to go through a crowd that you have to kind of wait for people to open a space for you? I mean, that was different. But I never felt like, I never took it personally, you know, like, oh, these people are fawning over me, or they're so not. I never thought of that. It's just not me. It's just not me. I'm just the same guy I was before I did the series.
All right, fair enough.
So my last question, and this is probably the silliest question we're asking today. So with as influential as we've talked about the show being, and that influence shows up in some interesting places. You mentioned doing The Simpsons and Futurama, but you also voiced young Barnacle Boy in an episode of SpongeBob SquarePants.
Right.
Who is a direct parody of your iconic character. How does it feel to voice that character, knowing that you are voicing a character that's parodying your own character? Like, that's really, it's
hear
cool.
You, and I never thought that deep about it. I mean, you know, I can't tell you, on Batman, we had these people, everybody wanted to get into the act. You had these psychologists trying to analyze this. You had all this, everybody, well, what is the deeper meaning? And what is all of this and all that? And for me, you know, this was fun family entertainment that Adam and I had the best time, and it really came across. I mean, you know, and he was such an amazing actor, and his style was just very, very different. You know, he played Batman so I don't know, how do you want to say it? Kind of like he thought of himself like a prime minister or a great, you know, worldwide hero. I mean, he just was stoic. And the more grand and bigger than life that he thought of himself, the more faster talking I was and this and that. You know, we played off each other. And in fact, just to give you an idea, I remember one time on Batman, this was before we started filming, he says to me, you know, Burt, he said, I really understand now about the character. I said, well, what do you mean, Adam? You're playing Batman. Oh, no. He said, I just watched Charlton Heston on the 10 Commandments and and he received the word of God from the Sermon on the Mount. And that's when I really understood how important and big Batman was. I said, oh my God, Adam, please don't go tell anybody that. You know, I mean, he so is big and bigger than life. And, you know, I was the fast kid, this, that, let's do this. Wait a minute, Robin, you know, that kind of stuff. And it just worked. All the greatest comic duos in history, Tim, have had one thing in common: contrast.
Agreed.
Costello, big and small. Mm-hmm. Laurel and Hardy, thin and heavy. You know, every, you know, Ed McMahon, Johnny Carson, you know, great contrast. And that's what creates the humor.
Agreed. Absolutely. Well, Burt, we're at a point in our show that we'd like to do now, and we're hoping that you'll play along with us. We play a little quiz with each one of our guests.
Okay.
And so it's a 5-question quiz. Each of the questions are multiple choice. Okay.
All right.
So you'll have an opportunity to choose accordingly. Now, if you get 3 questions correct, we want to send you a Red Shirt Widows and Orphans mug. It looks like what Kathleen's holding up there.
Wow, how nice.
Okay. If you get 4 questions correct, we want to send you that mug along with the book called Custodians of the Cosmos. That was written by our group founder, Drayton Allen. And it's a play on Star Trek, which is where the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund comes from.
I see.
And it's the book is written about a young man who wanted to join Starfleet, but couldn't do it. He washed out, and so he joined as a custodian. And now he boldly cleans up after those who boldly just went.
There you go.
So yeah, if you get 3 correct, we'll send you the mug. If you get 4 correct, we'd like to send you the mug and the book. Okay.
What if you get 5 correct?
If you get 5 correct, you get the mug, the book, and our undying respect.
Okay.
So, but if you only get
going to be very tricky questions, I have a feeling.
But if you only get 2 correct,
right,
we would like to take your picture or one of your pictures and put you on our Facebook page in a meme, what we like to call our fun sequence. It'll be a tastefully done meme about our conversation here. Do you accept that?
Well, what about if you only get 1 right?
Well, if you only get 1 right, you're still getting the meme.
And what if you don't get any right?
It might be less than tasteful of a meme.
All right. Well, as long as these aren't too difficult, I'm ready.
Oh, they're not.
Right.
They're not terrible.
No, they're not terrible. They're pretty good, I think.
All right. Question number 1. All right,
Kathleen, lead us out.
Question number 1. Great Danes are the state dog of what state? A, Michigan. B, Pennsylvania. C, Rhode Island. Or D, Vermont.
What about E?
There is not an E.
Gosh, I wasn't even aware of that because they come from Germany. They were the Deutsch dog from Germany. So one more time, give me those.
The options are A, Michigan, B, Pennsylvania, C, Rhode Island, or D, Vermont.
Well, I'm going to guess and say Pennsylvania.
You are correct because you went with the Dutch connection. It makes sense.
Well, actually, I didn't go by that connection. I just thought Pennsylvania, the people there are that kind of wild and crazy that they probably would do.
See, I tried to throw you off. I tried to throw you off with the big dog and the tiny state, but it didn't work.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
All right, so 1 for 1. Question 2. On which television network was Batman originally shown in the United States? Was it on A, PBS, B, HBO, C, NBC, or D, ABC?
D, of course. In fact, a little trivia for you. At the time, ABC was only a syndicated network, and the two real broadcast networks were CBS and NBC. And because of Batman and Bewitched, ABC became the third network in the United States because of those popularity of those two shows.
That's
Interesting.
Awesome. That's awesome. All right, question number 3. What make and model of car was the Batmobile modeled after? A, 1955 Lincoln Futura, B, 1960 Plymouth Corsair, C, 1957 Chevy Bel Air, or D, the 1954 Ford Galaxy?
A.
That is correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
You are 3 for 3, sir, so that's a mug.
That is a mug.
Okay, well, I've got a mug here.
There you go.
Right here on my head.
All right, number 4. Dick Grayson was part of what circus group? The Graysons, A, B, the Flying Family, C, the Flying Graysons, or D, the Grayson Family?
The Flying Grayson, C.
Correct. 4 for 4.
That's a mug and a book. And question number 5, which gets you our undying respect. True or false? Everyone should buy Gentle Giant's dog food.
Oh, that's true. That's not hard. If you want your dog to live longer. Now, if you don't want your dog to live longer, then you can get whatever you want. But I assume most people want their dog not only live longer, but live healthy.
You know, and if you don't
There
want
you
your
go.
dog to live longer, we suggest you also get mental health help.
Or
Because
or don't
obviously
get
there's
a dog
something
in the
wrong with
first
you.
place. Right. Not everybody should have a pet, but for those that have them, they should treat them with love and respect.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right, so the results of our game, 5 for 5. So when we're all done here, Bert, we'll get a shipping address from you. We'd love to send you those for
Absolutely.
sure. So,
And,
all right, very good.
and we'll make sure that Drayton autographs the book for you.
Please, I like that. That would be very, very, very nice. And if Burt is with a B-U-R-T.
Yes, it is.
Yes, sir, indeed it
Say
is.
about actors, as long as you spell their name right, you can say whatever you want about it.
I like it. So, Burt, we want to thank you so much for being on the show today. Where can people find more about your previous work, your current work, and about Gentle Giant's dog food?
Actually, in one place. GentleGiantsDogFood.com. Although we also have GentleGiantsCatFood.com, but right now, and that one is a new site. We're kind of just in the middle of building up. But on our GentleGiantsDogFood.com, there's a section of Batman stuff, and eventually I'm going to have another website. You go to over there to the end where it says more. I don't know if you can go to there. Yeah, click on more. All right, and then if you come down there, do you see where it talks about? Let's say here.
There's Facebook, social media,
There's
where to buy, our story.
Yeah, keep coming.
Let's see, Batman News and Gentle Giants.
Yeah,
Dog
Batman
Food
News. There you go.
So yeah.
So that we put stuff on there. There was stuff and all of that kind of stuff, and you can see there's videos and stuff. Although I'm going to have more stuff. It's just that we've been so busy caring for these animals and saving lives that it's very time consuming.
Oh, I can only imagine.
We work 7 days a week, and my wife is, let me tell you something. She is she's got more energy than Robin. And she loves to work. I mean, of course, she doesn't think work is work. She thinks she doesn't think it's play, but she thinks it's fun. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's really
awesome.
a good idea. In fact, I have a piece of just a suggestion for your viewers and listeners that
Yeah, go ahead.
mention and talk about what I call the 3 essentials to happiness. Right? I mean, doesn't everybody want to be happy? Right? So
Absolutely.
I once heard this and I was so impressed with it. So I'd like to share with you the 3 essentials to happiness. Number 1, someone to love. Number 2, something to do. And number 3, something to look forward to. Those are the 3 essentials to happiness.
All right. I like it. That's good.
So anyway, we it's like we work here 7 days a week. And I like to tell the story that last Christmas I said to Tracy, I said, well, now, Tracy, you promised me that I would get a half day off at Christmas. And she said, I never promised that.
We will make sure that we link the Gentle Giants website in our description. Definitely.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we want people to be able to find that and be able to give their
read
dogs
the
a good
stuff
life.
about our feeding and care program. It is so
absolutely
valuable. You know, and it's so funny because, like, for example, just one quick thing. If you ask somebody, how many times a day do you feed your dog? They always say the same thing, twice. And that's not right. That shortens their lives. And we have all this information about how to extend your dog's life. And you can see the dogs here. I wish right now that I could see her, because I was going to pick up one of our dogs and bring her over here. She happens to be a small dog. She's 25 years old right now. Her name is Tinkerbell. And the youngest dog we have here right now is 14 years of age. So when you have these giants like Mastiffs that only live 6 to 8 years, and the youngest dog we have is 14, you can see how so many of these dogs are living so long and so healthy. And I want that for everybody's dog. There's no reason that if you have a loving pet that you don't want to give it a chance to live longer and healthier. So with that, I just wanted to mention that, because on our website, gentlegiantsdogfood.com, you can read all about that stuff, our special feeding and care program, and you can read Batman stuff. And, you know, it's kind of like a catch-all right now for me.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, we'll make sure that gets in there. We want people to be able to find that and take care of their pets better. So, and we want to remind everybody who's watching or listening to please continue to subscribe. The subscribing is the single most important thing you can do to ensure that we get more amazing guests like Burt Ward today. I mean, how amazing in this. And we get funny moments to listen to with these stories from Burt. So please subscribe. It helps more than you're ever going to know. And please go to gentlegiantsdogfood.com and check out what Burt is doing there. Now, if you're not happy with the content of today's video, all you have to do is submit, in triplicate form, of course, to the Riddler. And once you've solved a myriad of confusing clues that would take a master detective and his trusty boy wonder sidekick to decipher, he will refer you up the chain to the Joker. And at that point, really, you're on your own. But you can be sure that the Joker will think whatever happens to you is going to be hilarious.
Thank you so much for being on our show, Burt.
Well,
this
thank
was awesome.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And as I would like to say to you, both citizens, our famous line on Batman, to the Batmobile.
Thank you.
My day's good.
Right? All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
All right. Take care.
Our show is brought to you by our charity sponsor, the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund, which helps support the Wish Upon a Teen Foundation that helps out sick kids when they need it most. And just imagine the comfort you'll give Red Shirt crewman number 64. He'll know that when he puts on the red shirt and attempts to defend us all from the Riddler, Joker, and Penguin, 13 minutes before the dynamic duo, the caped Crusaders themselves, Batman and Robin, arrive, he will know that he didn't leave his family destitute and without hope, because the Red Shirt Widows and Orphan Fund has his back, and what's left of his Federation badge now that it squirts water out of the center.
Let's check out a quick video from our good friends over at Level Up Lightsabers.
Information about Level Up Lightsabers and their online training sessions can be found in the episode description below.
On behalf of the rest of the hosts of Funny Science Fiction, we'd like to thank you for listening to this episode. If you'd like to be a guest on one of our future episodes, please contact us by means of our Facebook group, Funny Science Fiction. You can find us on Twitter or Instagram using the handle @FunnySci-Fi, or you can go to DraytonAllen.com and click the Contact Me link at the bottom of the page. Thanks again. Hope you enjoyed the episode.
Copyright 2020 by Drayton Allen. Original music by Jordan Michaels. Reference to any specific product or entity mentioned in this podcast does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation of or by Funny Science Fiction or its sponsors. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. If you have questions about this disclaimer, please contact us via email at drakenallen@drakenallen.com.